Hey guys, it's Patrick, and this is Ascension Adventure Episode 3, a PvM series I do where I'm going to try to get the Ascension Crossbows. Be sure to check out the previous episodes first if you haven't done that already, or if you're from the future and you're looking for a later episode, all the appropriate links are in the description. So, anyways, I actually went to Armadillo this episode, and my plan is to go to a different boss each episode, but also stick to one boss per episode. However, there is a reason why there's a Queen Black Dragon clip in here. If you don't know, you can use Mage or Range on Armadillo, and using Mage is just stupid, so people tend to use Range, and because of that, I need my Royal Crossbow. Funny enough, I happened to be watching a live stream. I forgot who it was, but a dude was like, I have to make sure I repair all my stuff this time, because last time I went, everything just broke down on me. I only watched the live stream for like 15 minutes, and that happens to be one of the things that I catch. But it was a good thing I did watch it, because it reminded me to check all my gear. My Royal Crossbow actually only had 3% left. Normally, I would have never checked, especially not the Royal Crossbow because range sucks. I know, this is an Ascension Crossbow series and I'm talking about how much range sucks. I mean, I'm guessing the Ascension Crossbows will be a lot better, but just hear me out. Oh, by the way, check this out. I just picked up an Armadillo Buckler. I'll circle around back to that in a minute, but as I was saying about how much range sucks, I have a fight killing guide on this channel, right? And before I made that guide, I tested out a few things. I was using a Polypore Staff for a magic weapon and the Royal Crossbow for a ranged weapon. I went to go test out the range on Jad, and Jad is supposed to have no weakness, but for whatever reason, the level 75 Polypore Staff was a lot better than the level 80 Royal Crossbow. And they're both also two-handed weapons. It just sucks so much that I don't really use it. This is honestly the first time I've ever recharged it. I've had a Royal Crossbow since 80 range, and I now have 20 mil or 24 mil range XP or something like that, and I just thought that was absolutely crazy. Most of that XP came from Dungeoneering, by the way. I like using range in Dungeoneering, but that's about it. Outside of it, I'm good. I don't really like it. I have a question for you guys. Have any of you ever made it out alive while trying to charge a Royal Crossbow? This is the first time I've ever recharged it, but when you first put it together, you had to charge it then as well. So I went through the process twice, and both times I managed to charge it, but I just flat out died both times because it just hit so hard. I guess I could have spammed Rocktails, but I'd rather just make sure my crossbow is charged. Anyways, that's enough about the crossbow. Let's talk about Armadillo. So I just picked up an Armadillo Buckler, right? How much do you think that is? Take a guess right now. Don't look it up, just come up with a number. Do you think it's a mil? A mil and a half? 2 mil? It's actually 180k. Pretty bad, right? The Armadillo Buckler is a range shield if you didn't know, and back in episode 1, I was talking about shields and how Jagex kind of messed up with those, and now they're stupidly cheap. I'm not going to repeat anything I said because, of course, I already said it, but a quick point I'd like to add. The God War shields, like the Buckler, the Bandit's War Shield, and the Subjugation one, whatever that's called, they added those into the game with Evolution of Combat, or at least I think they did. I would just like to make a point that I find it ironic that Evolution of Combat and dual wielding is what made shields so unpopular in the first place, so they basically just added new content that died off quickly. I don't know, I'm only complaining about this because I just wish I could have got some better. Besides from the Buckler, Armadillo prices are actually kind of crazy. The gloves and boots are about 6 to 7 mil, the chest plate is like 8 mil, chain skirt is 9.5, and the helmet's like 7 mil. All those things are pretty expensive, and honestly, I've never been to Armadillo before this. It just never appealed to me before, but since I'm trying to go to a different boss each episode just to mix things up, I figured it was worth a try. Since I'd never been here before, though, I never understood why prices were so high, especially for the gloves and boots. But now I do know the drop rates are actually kind of low, and it's just crazy. We also have to take in the difficulty of the monster into account. Armadillo isn't too hard, but I wouldn't necessarily call him easy either. He's about on par with Zamorak, which I talked about last episode. I'd stay here for about 2.5 to 3 hours, and also, like I said in the last episode, that may sound like a long time, but I'm using almost max level stuff. If I were to go any lower, I probably wouldn't even come close to that. So that's probably something that's helping keep the prices up. I don't even know if that made any sense. It just sounded weird to me. Other than the Buckler, I also picked up 2 elites. I think one of those elites already passed, and there's another one that's not going to come till later. I'm just going to spoil that because it's just a clue scroll, so whatever. The important part is what I actually got from the clue scrolls, which I didn't get anything good once again. By now, you guys are probably rolling your eyes and are going to tell me to stop doing them, which I wouldn't blame you if you do. Someone suggested that I screenshot what I get from the clue scrolls, so the main reason why I don't do that is because I overestimate sometimes and end up with more clips than I need. I like to stay at 10-minute videos, so I try to show as many kills as I can, but if I have too much, I get rid of some of them. And since this is a PvM series, I'd rather show the clips of me killing stuff rather than showing what I get from clue scrolls. Of course, if I do actually get something that I feel is good enough to show, I would definitely pick that over the PvM clip. Also, another thing I'm doing, you guys know how I price check all my items at the end of the episode. The tab is really building up now, and I find it just a little bit inefficient to have to go through multiple price checks just to price check everything, especially having to add them all up at the end. And like I said in the first episode, if something is stackable and I have room, I don't care how cheap it is, I'll pick it up. It's not that I have a lot of cheap items, but I do have a few mixed in with other things, and I was thinking I should just sell the stuff and price check the more expensive stuff and limit the items to all fit in one inventory, and the coins will go in the money pouch. It's just easier that way, and when I do sell the whole tab in some future episode, that whole selling part won't be as long. Maybe you guys will disagree with me, but I find it annoying when I'm watching a sped up clip of someone selling their tab from a PvM series. It goes on for like 5 minutes even though it's sped up, and there's dubstep music in the background. Not that I'm hating on people that do that. I just skip to the end when they have sold everything and problem solved. But I pointed that out just to say that's what I wanted to avoid with my own video. Oh, so in this clip, I picked up a Godsword Shard 3. Can you even call that a drop? I consider it a drop just because it's unique. Nothing else drops Godsword Shards outside of God Wars, or at least I don't think they do. I could see how some people wouldn't call it a drop just because it's so cheap. It's 150k, by the way. It's ridiculous how cheap some of the God Swords are. God Wars and God Swords came out in like late 07, right? Because I remember when they're thinking about adding God Wars to old school RuneScape, the backup they had that allowed them to make the service possible, it was a few months short of God Wars, and that's why it didn't come out together. Dungeoneering Chaotix came out in like mid 2010, so God Swords were some of the best weapons in the game for like 2.5 years, and of course, this was also back when they had special attacks, so that made them especially good and kept their prices up even after Chaotix. I remember those days. Those were noob days for me when I was poor, and I shouldn't have even thought about being able to afford a God Sword. And I will admit, I could barely afford a whip back then too, and now those things are like under 100k. I just didn't get how to make money. I fished sharks, and those are pretty pricey, but they took forever, and I seen people walking around with like hundreds of millions, and of course, since I was a noob, I was like, how is that even possible? These were also the type of people who were walking around with like God Swords and Santa hats and whatnot. I just wanted one so bad, and these days, I almost want to say I could wipe with a God Sword, but that sounds pretty dangerous, and I might end up with a few stitches. Right now, you're probably wondering why I'm showing you spins. Well, I got a spin ticket from one of the minions, so I claimed it, used it, and it gave me a medium cash bag, which gave me close to 105k. I figured it was worth showing. Not like the Shard of the Buckler was much better. I didn't get crap this episode either. I was actually here for a total of 4 hours, so that's even longer than how long I spent at Zamorak last episode. It's ridiculous how much bad luck I'm having, but watch. My luck is going to take a turn soon, and I'm going to be making like 50 mil an episode. That's an exaggeration, but you know what I mean. Anyways, it's time to price check the loot. Alright, welcome to the part of the video where I price check all my loot. I'm not doing the live commentary thing anymore. It was just much easier to pull a couple screenshots together, but you still get the idea. The important part is the number at the bottom anyways, so if you add up the amount of all the items and all the coins that I've gotten throughout the series, it comes out to 21.2 mil, and if you subtract the amount I had at the end of the last episode, it comes out to a little bit over 3.9 mil. So I made a little bit over 3.9 mil this episode, which is just terrible. The only drops I got this episode, if you even want to call it that, are the Armative Buckler and the Godsword Shard 3, which total 330k. Last episode, I was talking about how Zamorak wasn't bad cash. I just had bad luck because even though I couldn't get a drop, they were dropping Infernal Ashes, which account for 1.5 mil of this loot right here. So at least I still felt like I was making something. Armadillo has nothing consistent like that. I don't want to call it bad cash. It's just bad if you don't get a drop. It's great if you do, but whatever. The grand total is 21.2 mil. That's it for this video. Peace.